Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of Spirituality for Badass Babes. And today I have the beautiful Jenessa MacKenzie with me. Jenessa is a spiritual life coach, an NLP practitioner, master mindset coach, and an intuitive lunar living expert. Hello, Jenessa. How are you?
Hi, Anya. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. So, first off, which I find very awesome, by the way, because our brands are very similar.
Yeah.
Spiritual badass. You have your spiritual badass. So, I would love to know what makes you a spiritual badass.
Oh man, yeah. So it's funny because I don't think anyone's ever asked me that.
It's a brand thing.
Yeah. It's more of a my brand is more of a projection for other people to realize that they are a spiritual badass because we are all spiritual badasses if we choose to be. But for me, just changing my life the way that I have and being on the spiritual journey that I'm on, which looks different for everybody, and digging really deep into who I am, what I really want out of life, and living it the way that I want, fully expressed, and being the portal of possibility for others to do the same thing. I feel like that institutes a spiritual badass, whether that's
Sure
me or
does.
anybody else.
It sure does. And I love that you're also on this mission, allowing people to step into their full power of becoming a spiritual badass, because that's something that I stand for as well. And that's probably why you and I connected. So, so
Yeah.
beautiful. So I know you've been shifting roles. And when we first connected, you were telling me how you were getting out of spiritual business coaching and you were stepping more into like working with the lunar cycles. And like now you do all this lunar living and expertise. So I would love to know what that means and what just what it means, and also how to actually work with your lunar cycles and then also with the actual moon. I know you also do a manifestation challenge around the moon as well, which I find fascinating. So I'd love for you to explain a little bit about that, because a lot of people, they have no idea how to go about working with the moon, other than there's a new moon and a full moon. That's it. One's for calling in, one's for releasing. That's all. That's a lot that all people know most of the
Yeah.
time. So I'd love for you to explain that, since that's your jam.
Yeah. And some don't even realize that, right? Like I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, well, what's the, like, I don't get it. Like, what is the new moon? Like, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, it's like when you see nothing in the sky, like there is no moon in the sky. And it's a very deep energy of, going inward, and also really figuring out, it's an intention setting time. So it's like, what do you want to call into your life this moon cycle, which is from new moon back to new moon, right? And there's a whole bunch of phases in between there, like you mentioned, the full moon. There's also waxing energy, which is growing energy towards the full moon. And in between there, we have the half, the first quarter, but it looks like a half a moon. Then going into waning energy, which is decreasing energy, going back into the new moon. So I forget what you asked me. The very first question was, it was like 3 questions there. But so I am a reflector, as we just talked about, in human design, which means that my strategy is to wait 28 days, which is a lunar cycle, to make big decisions, like not like what socks am I going to wear today or what am I going to wear today, but because we definitely don't want to wait 28 days for that, but big decisions. And I use that in my business too. Like, oh, like if I have this really great idea come in, I'm like, I'll put it on my calendar 28 days out and I'll pop it there. And usually just by going through my day, the whatever I'm doing, living my normal life, running my business normally, the clarity will come usually before that 28 days. So that when I get to that 20 days, I'm like, oh, I already made that decision. Awesome. Great. Take that off the calendar.
Done and done.
Done and done. Yes. But lunar living is so much more than really just knowing and understanding what the lunar cycles are, what the energy of each one is, and kind of following that and understanding yourself, because really it's a deep understanding of you. It's a transformation of you, and it's looking at yourself in a way that most people don't, or never even thought of to do, that especially that aren't on a spiritual journey. So if you're just starting a spiritual journey right now, or you're kind of into it but not quite have done a whole ton of work, shadow work, probably people go, I've seen every time I mention like we're gonna shine light on your shadows, people are like, you don't want to do that, I'm like, but you really do want to do that. And there are times in the lunar cycle that call for that. Like, we have to fill our cup up first before we can help anyone else, whether you're a business owner or not. But just being a human being means that you need to take care of yourself. And in order to take care of yourself properly, you have to know who you are, what you need, what your body needs, what your soul needs, what your mind needs, in order to all operate properly. So diving into really understanding what the moon cycle is, what their energies are, and how to work with them transforms your life and makes it, I don't want to say easier, because easy is,
nothing's ever easy. Let's be real.
Nothing's ever easy, right? Like, it can be with more ease. Let's put it that way. Because you're understanding energy and yourself on a whole nother level than you did last month.
Dang. Which I think is so fascinating. Like, it's beautiful to take that energy, because the moon releases so much energy. It really does. But if you could hone in on that energy and really feel into like what your intentions are, really feel into what you want to either manifest, release, like do some of that shadow work, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve based off of what you're working on specifically, like it's so good to have that extra little like push from the universe. Like, it's universal power. Like, use that energy, might as well use it. So let's chat a little bit about like the different energies, because obviously like you can manifest with one type of moon, you can do release work with another type of moon. Like, how does that look like for a normal person that has no idea how to even get started, and when they should start paying attention?
Yeah. So a new moon is always the best time to start anything. That is the starting point of the lunar cycle. It is a clean slate. It is the time to set the intention of whatever it is that you want to accomplish, be, do, have for that lunar cycle. It doesn't necessarily have to be manifesting, but when I say that, I also want to caveat that with, you are manifesting every second of every day. So it doesn't, it all just ties in together. Like, all of this energy, the moon energy, you manifesting your thoughts, your beliefs, your decisions, your choices, and all of the energy behind that, they all tie in together and they all work together. So when you're manifesting $10,000 into your bank account, if you don't believe you can have that $10,000 into your bank account, it doesn't matter what energy you choose, how you're manifesting, what you're doing, it's not going to show up there, because you don't believe it's going to show up there. So you have to have the belief first and foremost that it will work, that you are supported, that the energy and the universe has your back. But the new moon, like I said, is the fresh start, fresh slate. And we move into waxing crescent, which is like the little thumbnail moon that you see right after. And the energy's growing, but it's still asking you to anchor in to to your intention for the month, which in my community, I'm always asking them to do visualizations, meditation, but more feeling it as complete, because your feelings is what you're putting out. Like, you can visualize $10,000 in your bank account all you want, but the energy that you're putting out there when you visualize it is a whole nother story. That's your catalyst. Then we move into the first quarter, which is like duality, right? It's like half lit, half not lit. And there's multiple things going on in this first quarter. It calls for, deep spiritual healing. It calls for inner energy healing. It calls for consistent action. So and there's 3 days. Usually there's, like, in the new moon, you can tap into the new moon energy the day before, the day of, the day after. And then we start waxing crescent energy, which lasts until the first quarter. And then there's about 3 days, 2 or 3 days, depending on how many days of the month there are, that you tap into this energy. So usually I tell people to choose one of those 3 things, like your spiritual healing, your energy healing, or, we always want to be consistent in our actions, period. But choose a specific thing each day, because you can feel a little wonky on duality days, right? It's what I call them, duality days, because everything has duality, but this is like, there is duality in everything. Like, the moon tells you, I'm half and half right now, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
And that was going to be my next question. And we can still continue talking. Like, what are the emotions that people go through? Because I know certain moons, like, I'm super tired, I don't want to do anything. Certain moons, I'm like super productive and I'm like going 700 miles an hour. So can you bring into some of those emotions and energies that you're feeling as a human as well?
Yeah. So new moon is more introspective. It's more like a thinking time. It's a calling in time, like really figuring out what you want. But with that, you're also, as a human, questioning what do everything. I really want? Everything, right? Like, what do I really want? Is this what I want this month? Like, a great exercise is if you get overwhelmed with figuring out what your intention is for the month, because people have lists, right? We all want a lot of things. What is it that we really want this month? I like to use my intuition if I get overwhelmed. Sometimes I'm like, but I really want to do this, and this. Choose one thing to do in the month. That doesn't mean that it isn't going to spread out into other things. But if you choose one, your energy is focused on one. And it's not spread all over the place where, this energy is over here and not really connecting with this energy over here. And then the universe knows what you want, knows what you want all the time anyways, but you're not spreading your energy so thin, it's focused. I have them write down a list of all the things that you would like your intention to be this month. Close your eyes and do this on the page and just stop. Like, your higher self, your intuition will tell you which one it is that you should be focusing on this month.
You could also put it in like a random name picker online and just like pick.
You could do that. You could pick it out of a hat. You could
make a celebration, whatever.
Yeah. And in doing that, what you're doing is trusting. You're trusting yourself. You're learning how. If you don't fully already, you're learning how to trust yourself and your intuition more by doing that. And that, new moon is very calming and very like laid back and very just
Rest and
being.
receive.
Rest and receive. Yes, exactly. Rest and receive. And then waxing energy is growing energy because more light's coming onto the moon from the new moon. So it's growing energy. So you're going to start feeling more energy, more energetic. But it's going to take a little bit because that waxing, it's like just little bits all the way, right? Until you get to that duality where you're like, oh, do I want to sleep or do I want to go like running for 10 miles? Maybe I'll do both, you know? I think the biggest thing here is to listen to your body, listen to yourself, listen to your soul, and pay lots and lots of attention to the thoughts in your head. Because when the energy grows, no matter what, but when, especially in the moon, when you're following the moon cycle, when the energy grows, what you focus on grows. What you focus on grows all the time anyways. So if your thoughts in your head are not preferred thoughts, that's what you're going to get back. So try to just pay attention to your thoughts. Do a daily dump at the end of the day, or do a daily, thought, what is the word I'm looking for? Audit at the end of the day, because we tend to, like, we have a bazillion thoughts a day and we don't even remember half of them, more than half of them at the end of the day. But you're going to remember when, usually, especially when you start paying attention to this, when you start talking trash to yourself, or when you start thinking trashly, I don't even know if that's a word, but trashier about other certain things in your life, experiences, like, were you in traffic that day and were so aggravated because there was a traffic jam and you just got yourself all worked up? That just lowered your vibration and probably made the rest of your day shit, right? Because now you're aggravated. You get home, you like take it out on your, spouse, you're yelling at him, and it has nothing to do with them. It's got to do with because you were pissed off that you were in traffic.
It happens.
Yeah. So just think about what you can control and what you can't. And the only thing that you can control is you and your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings. So it's easy for our minds to take over in that traffic jam situation and be aggravated. But if we catch that, we can be like, I can't change this.
You flip your script.
Yep, flip your script. What can we do to make this more enjoyable? Like, my favorite thing to do is either put on a podcast, just listen to the podcast. Great. Now I get to listen to an hour-long podcast while I sit in this traffic that I can't control, right? Or turn my radio up really loud and do karaoke and watch the people next to me like look, and either that or they'll be like, yeah, like start singing along with me. And that's
gotta
fun.
have some fun with it. Gotta have some fun. Like,
yeah, you gotta have some fun
add joy
like,
to your life every single day, whether that's being stuck in traffic or going out on a walk, whatever it is. Add some fun to it. Like, we can't always be so depressed and like angry and negative. Like, traffic happens, shit happens. Let's move on. How can we add more joy and fun into our lives?
Exactly. And that's really what it is. How can we, if we are in that state where we're not in a preferred state, in a aggravated, stressed out, overwhelmed, whatever state you're in, how can I add more joy to this right now so that it becomes more fun for me instead of being aggravated? Because I know, because that affects so much, like just in your physical body, in your energetic body, in your mind. Like, you are now training your mind to be aggravated every time that you are in traffic.
Yeah.
You're aggravating your nervous system. Your nervous system is like all out of whack now because you're sitting there pissed off in traffic. So every action and every choice and every emotion you have is affecting all of your bodies all of the time. So that doesn't mean toxic positivity. I always caveat that with this because there's a lot of that goes around in, some of the spiritual world, or, the mental health, wellness world. Positive vibes. Yes, positive vibes, but we are humans and we're gonna have those moments that we're like, we're sad, or we're angry, or we're, disappointed or hurt or whatever it is.
And it's
okay to
okay.
still have the
Yes.
emotions. Yeah, it's
You're
okay to
human.
still
At
have the
the end
emotion.
of the day, it is okay to have those feelings. It's okay if you just want to take a nap one day. It's okay to be angry. Like, not everything is perfect, especially like we grew up in such a world of social media, toxic positivity, social media. Like, that is the epitome of toxic positivity. Because every single time you go on social media, you see like these influences of all these beautiful people like sharing these beautiful photos, and you're like, oh, I wish my life was like that. Well, no, like their life isn't perfect either. They just don't share all the negative stuff. But this is, if you're like in any kind of coaching industry, which mostly most of my listeners are, or entrepreneurs and stuff, like this is what's going to set you apart, is actually sharing those downfalls, sharing it when you're sad, when you're crying, when you have those dark moments, like in life and in business. That's what's going to make you stand out, and that's what's going to get you to be your true authentic self, and people will look up to you at that point, versus this person that's always put together, because no one's always put together. Sorry to break the news to you, no one is always put together, but you need to tune into that true authentic self of what is you, so you can allow that beauty to shine through for others as well. So good.
Yeah, and how hard is it to relate to somebody that's perfect all the time?
Nothing's perfect. No one's perfect, by the way.
Yeah, like if I saw perfection all over somebody's social media, no matter what they said, I probably wouldn't be able to relate to them. Like, just before we got on this podcast, like you guys can see I am blurred right now, right? Like my background is blurred. I am hiding a freaking mess back there. Sorry, somebody's driving by with a dirt bike. I'm hiding a mess. It's a mess. Like, I literally said to Ania, please hold, I need to brush my hair today and put it up so that I at least look presentable coming on here, right?
Because
So
this is real life.
this is real shit right here. Like, it is what it is.
Especially for you
but
and I, like,
I'm here and I'm showing up. So
exactly. And sometimes that's all that's needed. But you and I and most of my listeners as well, like, we're entrepreneurs. We work from home half the day. You're lucky if I put clothes on. Like, I'm working in my jammies from the bed most of the time, and that's okay as well. So you do you, boo, and whatever you're comfortable, but make sure you're tuning into that like true authentic self of what is you and what is what you're putting out there. But let's go, we digress. Let's go back to the moons.
No. Okay, so where were we? We were waxing crescent, right? So yeah, and then duality of the first quarter. And then we move into waxing gibbous, which is just more light being shown onto the moon, which means more growing energy, this is when you want to take big actions. So make your big decisions, take your big actions, inspired big actions towards your intention. But yes, this is like the massive action part right here. And then we move into the full moon, which is like the mother load of energy, right? This is no joke. Whatever you are doing during the full moon energy, which is 3 days of energy, is amplified. So if you're thinking crappy thoughts, your crappy thoughts are going to get amplified. if you're, still taking your inspired action, which you absolutely can still take your big inspired actions, or being very consistent in your actions, that's going to get amplified. If whatever it is, it's also a really good time for communication. It's a really good time to throw a party, which is why a lot of people have, which I do as well in my local area. We do full moon circles, and it's a really great time because you get together, and the manifesting energy of a full moon. And when there are a bunch of people all, with the same goal in mind of, just being together, being a community, being a tribe, and releasing and celebrating at the same time, like magic happens, right? So it can be virtual. Energy can be felt from anywhere. You don't have to be in person. So if you have somewhere that you can join a circle for the full moon, do it. If you have somewhere that you can join a circle for the new moon, do it. Because the energy is very powerful on both of those days. Whoever is driving a moped outside my house right now, it always happens. It happens that way.
Me too. Like, I'm from Chicago. I live in Chicago half the time. So there's always like noises. Like sometimes I just want peace and quiet. It's like, I just want to film one good video where there's nothing in the background, or tape one meditation where I'm not interrupted and goes beep, beep.
Yeah,
like,
right. I know, you're like,
so peace and quiet. The older I get, I just want to live in the middle of nowhere and record a bunch of meditations and talk to aliens. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. Well, I live in New Hampshire, so it's
a little bit of middle of nowhere.
And it's a small town, so it's not, usually there isn't this much noise, but apparently my neighbor today decided to test out his whatever the heck he's driving out there.
Because you're doing something. It's spiteful.
Yeah. That's okay. It just made me get up and shut the window.
There you go.
So yeah, full moon, big manifesting, everything gets amplified, which is actually where the term lunatics comes from.
Ooh, fun fact. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because all the weirdos come out during the full moon.
Exactly. So if you're like angry, then your anger is going to be amplified. If you're happy, your happiness will be amplified. So just remember that. After the full moon, we move into waning energy, which is decreasing energy. So we're actually moving back into ourselves, like replenishing ourselves during the second half of the phase. We're still taking consistent actions towards our intention. So whatever your intention is, you're still paying attention to that. But you're also looking at, what has happened during the last 2 weeks? How have I been showing up? Like, you are reflecting on yourself, going through the growing energy, and that is like the big taking action time is the first half. The second half is more going back into yourself, seeing where you've come so far, because no matter what, like, celebrate the crap out of that, no matter where you are. It is like organizing, going back to the full moon. I mean, the new moon, you're gonna start organizing, like clearing out. This is a great time to like clean your house, clean out your closet if you've been like putting that off, just clearing off your workspace,
Your house. Everything.
Yeah, everything. Like, you could go crazy and do everything, or you could, just do little pieces at a time. Like, that's my time to like clear off the workspace, because I've always got like sticky notes here and sticky notes there, and I'm like, do I even need these anymore? So it's definitely a good time for that. And I love to do salt baths on like every quarter, at least every quarter, especially new moon and full moon. But I love to do them every quarter because it replenishes me. It's relaxing. And salt, like pink Himalayan salt or Epsom salts, or throw some, fun
Rose petals, put some
rose petals,
candles, like spoil
essential
yourself.
oils, your bath bomb. Like, you just bought the CBD bath bomb the other day. I'm like, I can't wait to use that.
Yes.
So just doing more things for you and figuring out what you could either, I don't want to put it in a negative connotation because it isn't a negative connotation, but how did I do the last two weeks? Is there something that I could do better next month? Is there something that I can change? What can I let go of? What do I need to do more of? It's really reflecting and, just looking back at what you've done and keep moving towards your goal until the new moon, when you're going to start all over again.
Beautiful.
So yeah, all that waning energy is just going to keep decreasing, which means you could also be feeling, tired. You could be feeling not creative. Or some people are total opposites, right? I always tell everyone to either get a calendar. I have a moon journal that I give to everyone, and I can give you the link if anyone's interested in that too. That they record their emotions, their feelings during every moon phase. And if you do it twice, if you do it at least 2 months in a row, then you have something to compare it to. Because 1 month you could be a weird month for you,
yeah.
right? and then you're thinking, oh, this is how it's supposed to be every month. And the next month you're like, what the heck? This is not what happened last month. But to do that, and then you really start to see your own cycle. Because like I said, some people are totally flip-flop. Some people are tired after all the way through that first cycle. And then their inspiration comes during the second one. Like, we're all different. Just because the universal moon energy says, this is growing energy, you're supposed to be doing all these things here, doesn't mean that that's correct for you.
Yeah, I have a Virgo moon, and I'm organized beyond organized, and I track everything, and I have lists on lists on lists. But it's so important for us to be able to track our progress, because the way you grow is by tracking your progress. A lot of the times that people are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do la di da di da and then flow with it. But no, you need to actually track it as well, and track your energies, because like as entrepreneurs, like see what time of the month is really productive for you. Like maybe that week, spend that entire week not having any client calls and just record all your videos, or like do your busy work or whatever. And then the week that you're feeling a little tired, like take an extra naps, don't do any calls, or whatever it is for you, however you plan it out for you. But it's important to track that. And like, that's such a great point, to track it so we can track our progress, and then keep celebrating you. Like, celebrate yourself at the end of the month. Like, you've completed another month. And I love how you do manifestations throughout the entire month too, because I was a manifestation coach for a while. And there's different ways that we can manifest, and obviously everyone manifests different ways as well. But tracking it with the moon, with the energy, it's so powerful when you can manifest with the moon and with that collective energy as well, because that's so powerful. Like, magic happens with numbers, and the energy of the collective happens with numbers. So yeah, fantastic. Any final last tips, tricks, comments, anything for the audience?
Yeah, just really pay attention to you. Like, that is really what this is all about, is getting to know yourself better. Like, I can spin this as manifest with the moon power, right? Or manifest with the power of the moon. And yes, we can do that, but it's really learning who you are and to hone into your own intuition, to trust yourself, to be open enough to receive and to let go. Like in 1 month, if you followed the exact energy of the moon in 1 month and you did the things, you would be completely transformed into somebody different, evolved, expanded by the end of the month. And you would see the amazing magic that can happen when you just allow.
And you are magic.
And you are magic. Everyone is magic.
Thank you so much, Jenessa. That was so beautiful. Where can people reach you? Where can they find you? Where can they get those links as well? They will be in the show notes, but where can they find you and get more information about moon magic?
Yeah. So my website is youspiritualbadass.com. I am the same on Instagram. All the links are on my website. They're also on my Facebook page, which is You Spiritual Badass, but with 2 Z's at the end. Because, well, we know how Facebook is about profanity. So
sure do.
so I threw 2 Z's at the end instead. So that's where that is. And then you can, come listen to my podcast and get all kinds of goodies there too. And that's You Spiritual Badass as well.
Aligned. I like it. Efficient. Yep. Thank you so much, Jenessa. That was beautiful. And we will chat soon.
Thank you, Ania.
Have you ever wanted to become a published author, but you have absolutely no idea where to start? Well, this is your chance to stand out and finally get your story heard. I'm putting together a book series called Unlocking the Codes, and I want you to be a part of it. Titles include Unlocking the Codes to Spirituality, Unlocking the Codes to Success, Unlocking the Codes to Manifestation, and many, many more. So, if you've ever thought about sharing your story on a global scale, but you are completely overwhelmed with everything that goes into writing a book, like the book cover, the editing, the marketing, then claim your spot right now in the hottest co-author book series before someone else does. To apply to be a co-author in the Unlocking the Codes book series, go to unlockingthecodes.com.